Right now, as you're watching this, something in the back of your mind already knows the content you've been consuming is shaping the way you see everything around you. Today, you're going to find out exactly how that works and what to do about it.
We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
It's true. It's damn true. Happy Friday, guys. What's good? My camera's working for now. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer. I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. Now, think about this for a second. Every single day, you're consuming content that is either pulling you up or dragging you down. And most guys have no idea which direction they're actually going. Today, we're going to walk through exactly why that happens, how the content you feed your mind becomes the lens you see yourself through and your life through, and what you can do to get off the bottom of that scale and stay off of it. By the time we're done, you're going to see your entire input diet differently. So stay with me because this one's going to change how you see everything you've been watching, reading, and listening to, and why it's been affecting your relationship, your state, and the reality you're building every single day. Now, today's episode is going to sort of springboard off what we were talking about last week on Friday. We're not going to go as long as we did on last week, though. But I got a lot of good feedback from it. And one of the guys at Wolfpack had a bit of an epiphany because he tuned in Friday. He loosely paid attention. You know, a lot of guys listen to the stuff sort of, they're half in while they're at work or whatever, which I understand. But like on Sunday, he had an issue with his wife and he was really mad at her and stuff like that. And so I challenged him to go back and listen to last Friday's episode. And he not only went back and listened to it, he listened to it another time after that. So he listened to it 3 times total and had an absolute epiphany about what was happening, right? And what really stuck out for him, I think, was when I was talking about how when I was married, I used to drive on my way home from work, on my commute home, and I would tune into Tom Leykis. I would listen to Tom Leykis on my way home. And the thing about Tom Leykis is he's been married and drugged to divorce court numerous times. So his whole content is about how women are all gold diggers and stuff like that, right? And so that was painting a picture in my mind and telling my brain a story about my wife that, maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't, but it definitely impacted how I saw her. And so I would always come home with the expectation of getting into a fight with her, of looking at her, looking down on her and being upset with her all the time. And that was because of the story I was telling myself in my head. So it really started shaping how I was seeing my wife. And now, don't get me wrong, I don't blame Tom Leykis, but that steady diet definitely contributed to the end of my marriage. It wasn't just Tom. It was a compound of other things, but his content certainly didn't help. So that sort of leads us into the first idea, which is your input diet. And what I mean by input diet is the stuff that you're consuming the most, right? It's actually creating your reality. A part of that is what's creating your reality. So if you tune into like black pill content, the sneaky thing about black pill content is it's often branded as red pill. It's often branded as red pill. The thing is, though, you guys have to understand that red pill by itself is kind of a neutral entity. It's not even a real thing, right? It's a praxeology. It's a set of tools that you can, you can learn the true nature of women and get all mad about it because it's not how life should be, or you can use it to your advantage and create a life for yourself that you actually want. It's like what you do with it is up to you. It's kind of same thing as a gun, right? A gun is neither good or bad. You could use a gun to feed your family with, or you could use a gun to go mow down a bunch of innocent people. It's what you choose to do with it. The gun by itself didn't do anything. It's neutral, right? Same thing with red pill. So if you're constantly tuning into negative content like black pill content, you're in MGTOW forums, you're watching the evening news, take red pill and relationships off the table. If you watch the evening news, all of the news is fear-based. Almost all of it is fear-based. And another thing you'll understand too about the news is the way they speak. You guys, there's a distinctive news reporter voice that you hear. The reason why news reporters sound all the same, they all sound like news reporters, is because they're using a specific tone of voice that puts you in a trance. Okay. It puts you in a trance. You largely just are a drone listening to all this stuff and all the happy-go-lucky stories on the news largely go in and out. You don't even pay attention to it. But what keeps you watching is the fear stories, the negative news. There's a murder today. There's 10 murders in this town. There was a fire in this place today. It's all negative stuff. There's a war. It's all negative crap, right? Designed to keep you in a state of fear, to keep you watching, especially politics. Politics is really bad like this, right? Because political news is all about what those guys are doing, the bad guys. What are the bad guys doing now? It keeps you tuning in because you want to know what the bad guys are doing. Right? No matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, the other guys are always the bad guys, and you always want to tune in to find out what those evil bad guys are up to. Okay. All of this is a pendulum. Okay. And I'm using the term pendulum as a metaphor. Okay. It's not an actual pendulum. So for you spurgs that only think in black and white, it's a metaphor. Okay. The idea of the pendulum comes from this book called The Kybalion, which is based on Hermetic philosophy. Some of you guys don't like that because you consider it woo-woo, right? There's another book that I recently read called Reality Transurfing, which is also kind of a woo-woo book. And they also use the term pendulum, but they got that from the Kybalion, right? But it's just a metaphor. It's a metaphor for anything that grabs your attention and gets you up in your emotions and then uses your emotions to manipulate you in a certain way, okay? So all this is a pendulum, and every one of them needs your emotional participation to keep going, okay? So you could be subscribed to a toxic red pill content channel maybe, or doom scrolling politics, or watching back-to-back crime coverage, and your nervous system is processing all of it the same way it processes real events in your life. The thing is that our minds are terrible at separating what's real, like what's in front of us, from what we're imagining. Right. And so the thing is that when you're watching all this type of content, it's painting a picture in your mind. And then you start imagining like your wife in these scenarios, right? Like maybe you watch a lot of toxic red pill content where they only talk about cheaters all the time. So now you start looking at your wife like, is she cheating on me? Is she going to cheat on me? Right. And it ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. We were just talking about this at Wolfpack before going live. One of the brothers in the Wolfpack was like, I'm deathly afraid of going out of town on business trips because for whatever reason, I have this irrational fear that my wife's going to cheat on me while I'm gone, And the thing is, there's a paradox with that. If you're always afraid that your girl's going to cheat on you, and so now like you won't go on business trips because you have to stay around her all the time to monitor her, it's going to push her to cheat more. It's more likely to push her to cheat because the way it's going to come across from her is that you're being weak, needy, and insecure. You're unattractive. She's going to not like that. And then like her monkey brain's going to kick in. Hypergamy is going to kick in. And she's going to look for a more attractive guy that doesn't do that kind of crap. And she's probably going to end up cheating on you. So it ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the paradox is that the less you care, the more to her it's going to come across that you're secure in yourself, that you're not weak and needy, right? And then you're more likely to be more attractive in her eyes, which is going to make it less likely for her to cheat. It's wild how it works, right? It's almost as if we get what we focus on in life. It's almost as if, okay, I'm going to try not to get into the weeds with woo-woo today, but the chances are never zero with that, okay? So you guys got to understand that there's this feature in your brain. It's a real feature. It's not some made up new age thing. It's an actual thing called your reticular activating system, okay? It basically points out what your internal thoughts think are important to you, okay? So we really do get what we focus on in life, and your mind is constantly looking for evidence of your beliefs, okay? So you're creating, you're painting a picture in your brain of scenarios that may or may not happen, and your brain can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. It starts believing this is a real thing and starts looking for evidence to prove it, okay? So your reticular activating system doesn't know the difference between your life and the content you consume. It just starts looking for evidence of whatever you've been feeding it the most. You understand? By the way, guys, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail. So the Hawking scale, I'm going to bring this up. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about here, right? This is what I mean when I talk about the Hawking scale. We talked about it last week. Now, for you guys out there like Erkin, I don't know if you're watching right now, but if you tune in after the replay, Erkin is one of those guys who's like, he hates the woo-woo. And all the guys a bunch of guys in the Wolf Pack were talking about last week. They're like, you know, Paul, if we knew you were going to talk about woo-woo, we probably wouldn't have tuned in, right? Let me make this more simple for you guys who have a mental block when it comes to what you guys consider woo-woo, okay? So instead of that big Hawking scale, what are we really talking about here? We're talking about feeling good or feeling bad, okay? There's nothing woo-woo about this, all right? If you're watching a bunch of negative stuff all the time, you are inherently going to start feeling bad. That might come across as feeling angry all the time, feeling resentment, feeling sad, feeling scared, feeling worried about stuff. Okay. A lot of look what happened during 2020, during the whole COVID lockdown scare, right? The news cycle continuously talked about stories of deaths and all these people were dying and stuff like that. But if you took yourself out of the weeds for a moment and actually looked around, it had like a 99.9% survival rate, right? The people that were dying, yeah, there was people that were dying, but they all had underlying issues, right? They all had underlying medical conditions. And then the COVID just pushed them over the edge, right? But you had millions of people who were deathly afraid of this essentially flu virus, right? That comes, we have flu every year, but this one was the devastator, and people were walking around with masks all the time. You still, 6 years later, see people deathly afraid of it walking around with masks, right? Those people are in a state of fear. They are feeling bad. Yes? Okay, so that's what we're talking about. There's nothing woo-woo about it. So we want to feel good more and stop feeling bad. That's the goal, right? We want to feel more of this, less of this. Okay. Now that we've removed your blockage to woo-woo, let's take a look at this scale. Okay. The actual scale, which was mapped out by Dr. David Hawkins. He did a study on this stuff. He created a logarithmic scale and was able to measure how people felt, using scientific equipment like EEGs and EKGs. He was able to measure this stuff. So he was able to map out people's feelings and give it a number. Okay. That's all we're talking about today. There's nothing woo-woo about it. Okay. But the scale doesn't lie about where you are. It doesn't. Right. So black pill content lives at fear and anger on the Hawkins scale. And so does 24-hour news and political content. If that's your daily diet, you're not just watching it, you're running these states down here. These are feel bad states. These are feel good states, right? You're down here. You're literally living down here most of the time. You're feeling bad. Okay. Shame sits at 20. We're not going to, I don't want you guys to focus on the numbers. I just want you to really focus on let's just remove this. Let's just remove this because you guys have mental blocks with this stuff. Okay, let's just make it easy on you guys. We'll pull out the crayons. We'll pull out the fucking crayons for you guys. Okay. Shame, guilt, fear, all sit down here. Feel bad. Okay. When you're camping out in those states daily, every interaction you have comes from that position, including how you read your wife's body language, right? Imagine this, okay? You've imagined a scenario where she somehow wronged you. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't, but you painted this picture. Now, when you look at her, you're looking at her from the lens of resentment and you feel bad. And then you start, like, everything she does starts annoying you, right? Every little thing she does annoys the crap out of you, okay? Because you're living in the state and then you're filtering her through that state, okay? So the thing is that you can't just think your way out of a feel bad state with feel good ideas. It just doesn't work that way. You have to work the state first, then the thinking sort of catches up, right? So one of the things that we were talking about last week was the fastest way to change your state is to change your posture, right? If you notice that you're feeling bad, notice what posture you're in. You're probably hunched over a little bit. Maybe you're closed off a little bit, right? Whatever you're doing while you're feeling bad, notice that and change it. Okay. Stand up straight, put your shoulders back, chest out. Okay. Wide open. That by itself, okay, will start the process of getting you out of that state. Sometimes it's a really deep state. Okay. It's a really deep feel bad state. Depression is like this, right? If you have chronic depression, you're going to fight that. You might get into this standing up straight, but your body's going to want to hunch back into it. You're going to have to fight that for a few minutes. Sometimes just standing there for 3 minutes and forcing yourself to stand there for 3 minutes will be enough to get out of that feel bad state. Okay. We're also going to talk about it, just also focusing on the opposite, the polar opposite state that you're feeling will get you out of it. But you got to understand, we talked about it last Friday, there's a negativity bias. Okay. You literally have to start thinking about the state you want to be in 4 times more than thinking about the bad state that you're in order to even start to get out of it. Okay. It's hard. It's hard. We were, one of the brothers at Wolfpack this week. I was going back and forth with him. Because every single post he's made since joining the group has been about what we're past the 8-minute mark, what his bitch ex-wife has been doing to him or what she tried to do it to him and how he's going to stick it to her ass. Right. And that's all he ever posts about. He's literally living down here thinking that he's up here, but he's really living down here because he's in a state of revenge, right? And getting even and all this kind of stuff. And so I wanted to bring that to his awareness, like, bro, cause he talks about like how much work he's done and how great he's been. And he has, not to, try to downplay the work that he's put in, but he's still living down here thinking about his ex-wife. And when he truly gets up here is when he's going to stop even thinking about his ex-wife. She's going to be a non-factor. And if he does hear about her, he'll be like, oh, cool. With, complete indifference to whatever she's doing or not doing. He won't even care once he's up here. But right now he's stuck in a state of revenge and all that kind of stuff. He's literally living in hell still, thinking he's up here, but he's literally living down here. Okay. So and I told him, I go, I know you don't want to hear any of this stuff that I'm telling you because it feels good to feel bad almost, right? We have that negativity bias. It's easy to stay down in a state of anger and resentment and stuff like that. It takes effort to get up here, but when you get up here, I promise you, you will feel better. Okay. So let me ask you, what's the one piece of content you need to stop consuming, right? The thing you keep going back to, even though you already know it's keeping you stuck. Drop it in the chat. If this is hitting close to home and you want to go deeper on your specific situation, send a super chat and we'll get into it live right now. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and drop a comment. All right. So let me put this away for a second. So negative content creates a negative feedback loop, essentially. Okay. So your reticular activating system, which we mentioned before, takes your dominant thoughts and goes hunting for evidence of this. Okay. Feed it suspicion and it finds reasons everywhere. You want to start searching her phone. You're going to start watching social media and stuff like that. You might not find anything, but then that's just going to further prove to you that she's probably cheating because she's probably hiding it now, right? Like these are the stupid ass stories that your mind's coming up with. And one of the things that I talked about last week is that our conscious minds, what we think is our rational mind, is the furthest thing from rational. It's constantly lying to us, okay? Because the way reality works is we're fed in all of this information, this data through our five senses, okay? That gets filtered through our lizard brain, right? The amygdala, what the Russians refer to as the paleocortex. Basically, it's our instinct. That's where like our fight, flight, or freeze response comes from. Okay, it filters through that. Then you have this emotional layer of your brain that wraps an emotion around whatever your senses come in. And then it feeds it to your conscious brain to create a story about it, right? That's your rationalization factor. I want you to understand how sales works, okay? Because a lot of you guys think that you're maybe very conscious. You purchase consciously and you make really good decisions. The thing is that the way sales typically works is it creates an emotion in you. Okay. And then you buy based on whatever that emotion is. Maybe you're running away from pain, or maybe you're seeking pleasure, right? Whatever it is, it's an emotion. And then you justify why you're buying it after the fact. Okay. That's what's called the rationalization factor. Your mind creates a story of why you need such a product. That's how all sales works. Okay. Well, the same thing happens when you're consuming all this content. You're creating stories in your brain, and that's just further rationalizes why she's probably cheating on you, right? You're creating a story that may or may not be true. Okay. So if you feed it problems are all that come up. Okay. So black pill content and conspiracy theories are particularly effective at this because they're designed to keep you in a permanent state of grievance. All right. Your brain doesn't know it's just a YouTube channel. It doesn't know it's just a podcast. It doesn't know it's just news for the entertainment sake of news and stuff like that. And by the way, I'm going to talk about a way to consume stuff, but from a higher state, like just being able to recognize what's actually happening. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But the reason why some guys can't stop consuming that stuff, it's not necessarily a willpower issue. They're already in a state that makes it feel true. So the content just gets validated every time they watch it, right? Every time you watch those damn Democrats, every time you watch those damn Republicans, every time you watch the Fresh and Fit and those damn hoes are on the channel again, it further paints this picture for you that just, it ends up being confirmation bias, right? It ends up being confirmation bias. And then anything that goes against that, you immediately want to reject because it doesn't fit with the story that you want to tell yourself. It's not that this is more true than this. It's just that you don't want to hear this, right? This is why when I was talking to the brother Wolfpack and we were going back and forth, I was like, I know you don't want to hear this, right? So he's probably rejecting everything that I told him this week because he wants to stay here in a state of revenge and be focused on his ex-wife. When you're doing that, when you're focusing on revenge and getting even with people, you're literally stuck in the past. You're not moving forward with your own life. She's controlling your life. Now, before we go any further, I want you to notice something. Everything we've been talking about today, the content you consume, the states you run, the lens you're seeing your life through, all of it starts with the paradigms running your mind. And most guys don't even know those paradigms are there, let alone that they can change them. That's exactly why I wrote Psychology Paradigm, and that's what it's built for. And it has a new cover. I just released a new cover this week. Okay. It's not a feel-good read. It's a manual for taking back control of your mental programming that's been running you in the background your whole life like a puppet. And like I said, just updated the cover. This is what the original cover looked like. I've never been happy with it. I've never been happy with it. RP Thor, the late great RP Thor, designed the cover, and it's got way too many words on it. It's not centered right, and so I've always wanted to change it. And Thor's been gone for over a year now, but I think he'll approve of the new cover design. Right. So the link's in the description for that. Go grab it. Now, while we're talking about things that just dropped, Dick Her Down Right is out now. It should have been live on Audible today, so it might still be live on Audible tonight at midnight. I don't know. I don't have control over that. ACX approves when they approve, so it might go out this weekend. But if it goes out this weekend, you can listen to it in the car, at the gym, wherever you consume your content. All right. This is a straight up instruction manual for what we do in the bedroom, written for men, no bullshit, no vague advice. My good friend, Eric Everhard, legendary porn star, wrote the foreword. Links in the description for both.
Have you ever had sex and honestly wondered, did she actually enjoy that, or was she just going along with it? Because chances are she's had better and she remembers it. What if I told you there's a way to make sure you're the one she can't stop thinking about? Most guys think good sex is about stamina or size. It's not. The men women are genuinely obsessed with aren't the biggest or the longest lasting. They're the ones who know exactly what they're doing. They're not fumbling around hoping something works. They walk in with a plan. They read her body. They control the whole experience from the first move to the last. And when it's over, she's not thinking about sleep. That's not some rare natural talent. That's a skill set, and it can be learned. Dick Her Down Right is the no-nonsense manual that breaks down exactly how women's bodies and minds work during sex. How to take charge of the experience like you actually know what you're doing, and how to become the man she's telling her friends about. Not the guy she had an okay time with, the guy she keeps coming back to. The guy she'd do almost anything to keep happy because what he does to her is in a category by itself. Every technique, every approach, every psychological principle is laid out straight. No theory, no filler, just the real information that makes the difference between average and unforgettable. Dick Her Down Right is available on Amazon or Audible now. Any man who wants to be better in bed and have any woman he's with completely hooked on him needs this book. Get it today.
Indeed. Just in for you guys in the Wolfpack and stuff like that, I did tell the guys in the Wolfpack that the first 20 guys that DM me are going to get a free code to listen to it for free on Audible. And I've had a few guys hit me up yet. But if you guys want a free copy, there's still a ton of, there's going to be a ton of free codes available. Join the Wolfpack now. I'm only making it available for free for guys in the Wolfpack. Links in the description for that too. And we'll also, I'll pull the link up for that later. Let me take a look at the chat here. Dar Fitness is in the house. Good to see you, brother. Happy Friday, gents. Smashing that like button is alpha. That's true. It's a true statement. And then CW, brother CW says, morning, gents, made it to the live. Good to see you. Ty says, Frame Friday, here we go. Nurse Chick says, good morning, gentlemen. Nurse Chick always gets this. You guys know that.
I'm so naughty.
She's a bad girl.
I'm going to come.
Oh,
that pussy must be ridiculous.
It is absolutely ridiculous, guys. Ty says, I'm only here for the woo. Good. Like the guys that hate woo, like, why do you hate awesome stuff? Like, okay, I get it. But why do you hate really awesome stuff? I don't know. CW says, posture does make a hell of a difference in how you feel in the moment. It's really helped me. It does. Yeah. And he goes, if you stay in the bad long enough, it becomes your default good. Yeah, it's true. Ty says, even just smiling could change your mood in the moment. It can, unless you're like really in it, right? Like there's been times where like in my life, I've always had a problem with my, like, controlling my anger. Right. And I've really done a lot of work on that over the last 10 years or so. So I've gotten way better at managing my emotions and controlling my emotions, but every once in a while something will tick me off and I'll start spiraling. I'll get really fucking pissed. And in those moments, it really does take some awareness and actual fucking effort to get out, right? And that's how you do it, right? You just smiling, change your posture. One of the things that I do to get out of it is I will start, once I'm aware of it, I'm like, oh crap, here I am. I've slipped down into hell, right? I'll be like, okay, crap. And I'll just try to start thinking of things I'm grateful for. Things I'm grateful for right now, right? And I'll try to think of like 20 things. Okay. And if I'm still needing to climb out of it, I'll put on some upbeat music. And like one of my go-to songs is Happy by Pharrell or Pharrell. I don't know how you pronounce his name. It's impossible to listen to that song and not feel good. It's impossible. I challenge you. If you're feeling bad, go find that song on YouTube. There's one that's a 24-hour version of that song. You don't need to listen to that, but it will get you up in your in a good vibration, baby. It definitely will. CW says facts. Smashing like is alpha, guys. That's true. Dark Fitness says the red pill content is so insidious because it starts out as entertainment, then it becomes your default in the lens in which you see people and the world. Unfortunately, right? And there's good and bad red pill content, right? I would like to think that I'm good. I would like to think that what I'm trying to do with you guys is help you live a better life, right? And with women, like involved and enjoy their company. I trying to do good in the world with this information. Other guys that I would say, all the former Rule Zero guys pretty much fall in this category with a couple of exceptions, right? Which I don't want to shit on anybody, but I will definitely say that the current Rule Zero guys, Nuke and Jack, and I don't know if Ryan's even doing it anymore. Ryan's content's good. Rollo's content is good, but some of it does have that entertainment factor. So you have to be careful and discerning with that. But Rollo's books are the best way to consume Rollo, in my opinion. Go buy his books. Who else? John Fitch doesn't do any streaming anymore. Troy Francis in general, his stuff is pretty good. Paul Benjamin, absolutely tune into Paul Benjamin. Phenomenal material, right? But just be discerning, right? Like as you're watching these shows, this is what I told my mom to do. Because I was talking to my mom about this last weekend, having just done Friday's episode last week. And I was like, your politics, because my mom, she's so immersed in politics, she can't get out of it. And she's always stuck in this state of hell. And she goes to church all the time. I go, I want you to think about this, Mom. You're literally living in hell right now because you're so frustrated and worried about this and worried about that. I was like, you're literally living in a state of hell. And so I said, God, what did I tell her to do with that? I go, you'll see it everywhere. I was like, you'll see it in your advertising. You'll see it on the news. You'll see it in TV shows. I go, if you really want to start becoming aware of this stuff, watch something and then pay attention to how you feel, right? Do you feel animosity towards these chicks on TV? It's by design. It's designed that way. Right? If you're watching the news and you're mad about something or scared about something or worried about something, it's by design. That's what they want. Okay. They're eliciting an emotion from you. Pay attention to how you feel. And that's the thing too, is like in the red pill space, they try to teach you like, almost emotional suppression. And they're like, oh, if you have feelings, you're acting like a woman and shit. Right. It's like, no, like that needs to be dispelled right now. Your feelings, I do think that having emotional control is a part of frame, but your emotions also are a signal. It tells you what's happening. Okay. So now what you do with it and paying attention to it and actually trying to be rational about it. Like, okay, why do I feel this way? What did they say that makes me feel this way? And then start questioning everything. Right. And then you'll find some of this red pill content is actually very helpful. You'll find that other content out there, like Corey Wayne, for instance, right? Corey's channel, he will not brand himself as red pill. He won't, he talks crap about red pill, but everything he says is everything that like we talk about in this space. It's just from a different perspective, and it's from a more positive perspective, right? So once you've studied all this stuff, you see it how it really is and what really works. And you can, and once you get your emotions in check, you have a better lens through which to see the world, and you start seeing the stuff more from a more positive place. Just checked Audible, it's not there. Yeah, as soon as it's available, I immediately get an email from Audible saying your book's approved, it's now live in the store, and here's all your free codes to give away. So I haven't gotten that yet. I know it's not there yet. I'm hoping it's tonight at midnight. It's usually midnight Eastern time too. $5,000 super chat from Dar Fitness. He's going to get this because as we're working on this type of stuff, we also need to shame these whores, right? We gotta
shame this horse.
And we also have to be misogynistic.
Misogyny.
Yeah. Phil says, hoorah, good to see you, man. And R. Lopez Jr. sent a fire emoji. And then Dar Fitness says, when I'm pissed, I try to smile like Denzel Washington and say to myself, my man, like he does in the movie American Gangster. He says my man in like a bunch of different movies, by the way. It's kind of funny. Whenever I do a search for a my man gif, because whenever someone does good, I'm like, I want to say my man, right? And so when I do a search for my man, there's always like 10 different Denzel Washington pics of him saying that in different movies. It's pretty funny. Okay, so pendulums. Pendulums pull you down whether you want to or not. And again, at the beginning, pendulum's a metaphor. Pendulum is any energy structure that needs your participation to survive. Okay, outrage media, red pill forums, political echo chambers, doom and gloom scrolling, all run on the same mechanic. Okay, they need you plugged in and reacting to it. Okay, now a pendulum's not a real physical thing. Okay, it's just a metaphor. But if you ever read Reality Transurfing, which, if you guys like the woo-woo stuff, it's a long ass read. It's really good. It's really well done if you listen to it on Audible. But he basically tries to make it out to be that a pendulum is an energy structure that gets created in the ether and stuff like that. I'm not going to go down that road. Okay, it's a metaphor. Okay, it's a metaphor. But when you pull your attention away from the pendulum, it actually loses its hold on you. But you have to actually withdraw your attention, not just argue with it or try to debunk it. Because the more you try to fight the pendulum, the more you get sucked into it, and it's still feeding off your energy. Okay, so you really have to just, God, if you listen to Neville Goddard, he likes to point to different things in the Bible. And like I said, I don't want to get into a lot of spiritual and woo-woo stuff today, but one of the things that he talks about is that the whole Bible is never meant to be taken literally. It's all filled with metaphors and analogy, or mythology and, stories of the conscious mind is really the way he looks at it. And he says, when Jesus tells you to turn the other cheek, he's not saying, let this guy keep attacking you. What he's really saying is turn your attention away from the negativity, right? Is that true? I don't know, right? But the more energy you put into it, the more you feed it, all right? According to Vladimir Zeland, if you want to look at it like an energy structure, but it's just a metaphor, right? But he has this thing called, he talks about it throughout the book, and he doesn't explain it very well, but I heard other people explain it, so it kind of makes sense. He talks about renting yourself out. And that's where you understand what the pendulum's trying to do, and you use it to your advantage. You're not actually sucked into it. You're not really giving it your energy, but you're using what it's trying to do with other people to your advantage, right? So I would say that I use the negative red pill pendulum to my advantage when you see some of my posts on social media, right? When I put out some of the rage bait stuff on social media to, all these goofy women and all whatever, like I put that kind of stuff out there, or, oh, she's cheating on you and all whatever, because I want to draw in guys to the podcast by renting myself out to the pendulum, right? To bring guys who are in that negative headspace, the black pill guys, the self-proclaimed incels, the MGTOW guys. I want to draw them into the podcast so that they can see how to use this stuff to their advantage and have a better life. I rent myself out to the pendulum to steal these guys from the pendulum. Do you understand? So there is a way, once you understand what these things are doing, you can use it for good. And that's probably the closest, best explanation, I think, out there for renting yourself out. So you got to understand how it works. Ryan Stone would refer to this as kayfabe, right? It's kayfabe. It's not real, right? Now let's get into some woo-woo a little bit, right? There is a universal law according to Hermetic philosophy. Okay, if you look at the philosophy side of Hermetics, it's not based on woo-woo. They try to base it on logic. Okay, but there's certain principles in the universe that even science, science would agree with. The law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect. Science is like, yeah, that's the thing. Cause, for every effect, there's a cause. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Okay. Well, there's a thing that the Hermetics taught, which was called the law of polarity. The law of polarity says everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. Now, you can use this metaphor as a way to better manage your mental state. Okay, so realize that what you see on the news or the rage bait red pill posts, they're not objective facts. And I know, like, Rollo likes to talk about objective reality, right? Like red pill's about objective reality. You've got to understand that no reality is truly objective. None. Okay, it's all filtered through your individual beliefs and your feelings about things and your beliefs and your experiences. Okay, so if you are told something that this person thinks is an objective fact, but it goes against your beliefs, you will reject it and not believe it's an objective fact because your subjective reality says different. Okay, so the best way to look at it is for everything that someone's claiming to be a fact, including this, what I'm saying right now, okay, you need to look at it and take it with a grain of salt. That's all that means. It's not woo-woo. God damn it. It's not woo-woo. It is, the difference between feeling good and feeling bad, right? So look at anything that you're watching, red pill content, the news or whatever, right? From that grain of salt perspective, okay? And realize that all truths are but half truths, and then take everything with a grain of salt, okay? That's where you can start to rise above these energy vampire pendulums and start just looking at things like, okay, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. We'll see. Does it impact my life? I don't know, right? So that's the way I look at everything. When I see something, especially like if I'm doom scrolling on X or whatever, which I haven't done in a while, fuck X, but I look at everything that I see that's news headlines and I go, does it directly apply to my life? If it doesn't, I go, oh, interesting, and I reject it. That's right. It keeps me feeling good and doesn't drag me into it, right? Anything that doesn't help you achieve your goals, you need to just fucking reject it. I would argue if it doesn't help you achieve your goals, stop consuming it. Okay. It's not helping you. Okay. A good example of this is a focus on the dating app statistics in this space. Okay. I hear all the time dating apps are made, like there's there's more men on dating apps than women. Women only go for the top, 10% of dudes on dating apps. It's a losing strategy. Whatever percentages. Women are filtering guys by height now. Doom and gloom, right? And I hear that stuff and I just chuckle because it doesn't apply to me. Right. Oh, that statistic where like guys are sucking on dating apps doesn't apply to me. I have great experience on dating apps. Okay. I had great success on dating apps after I stopped focusing on all the negative crap and I started focusing on a strategy. Right? The dating apps by themselves are absolutely neutral. It's how you're looking at it and your strategy. If you're not getting results, you need a different strategy. That's all. Fuck the stupid ass stats. Okay. Stats are for nerds. I started adopting that because so many stats in the space that people spew about keeps people stuck in the churn. And I'm not trying to keep you stuck in the churn. I'm trying to help you level up and get better with women. That's been the goal of the podcast forever. Okay. If anything we've covered today is speaking directly to your situation, send a super chat and let's talk about it. I'm right here. Speaking of which, we have $10,000 super chat from CW. Wolfpack has had such a huge impact on my life. I've been in the group soon to be 3 years. And since then, my life has been on the up more than down. Get in the pack, gents. The guys are amazing. I agree. I'm going to give him this one here.
I was just going to say it. This guy fucks. Am I right?
Definitely fucks. That's right. Yeah. And a week from tomorrow, we're having our monthly pod class. And brother Kamal from the pack, who's one of my original 3% brothers, he's going to join me. We're going to talk about relationship game. And we're also going to really get into, like he and I were chatting about it this morning, we're really going to get into the Wolfpack's 90-day coworker challenge with your wife and what we're really trying to do with that. Because so far we've had a handful of guys take up the challenge and not a single one of them can stop being needy and let go of their attachment to their wife, and they can't get out of her frame, and they're still trying to get something from her and get her to change and stuff like that. It's like that's never been the goal of the challenge. So we're going to get into that next weekend, but definitely get in the pack if you haven't gotten in there yet. So let's talk about the law of cause and effect and how you are the cause and the effect of all your outcomes in life. Okay. So every mental state you maintain consistently becomes a cause. What you experience in your life and relationships is the effect. Okay. What's going on around you right now, your reality, is an effect of previous paradigms, previous decisions that you've made, previous actions that you've taken. Your current reality is a result of everything up until this point that you've decided to do, the way you look at things, your assumptions about things. Okay. It's not magic. You decided to turn left and you ended up down this road. That's all it is. Right. Okay. So if you've been running chronic low-level hostility because of the content you consume, that's a part of the cause, because it's creating a mental picture for you that you're filtering everything through. You're looking at everything in this negative light. Okay. So your wife pulling away, your kids walking on eggshells, your boss not trusting you. Those are the effects of how you're thinking about things and how you're looking at things. Okay. The law doesn't care about your intentions or your justifications. It just records what you actually put out there and returns it in kind. Okay. There's, I don't have it memorized, but the law of cause and effect essentially says every effect has a cause. Okay. And everything happens according to law, and chance is just a name for law not recognized. Like you don't understand the actual cause of it. So you say, oh, that's unlucky. That's chance encounter or whatever. Like nothing happens by chance. Something put that into motion and caused it. Okay. So every effect has a cause, and every result in your life was caused by decisions you've made, assumptions that you've had, and the way that you're seeing everything. Okay. Now, some people will come to me and they're like, oh, So my grandma had cancer because of my assumptions. No, your grandma had cancer because of her assumptions. The things that happened to her were because of her beliefs and assumptions. You understand? And her decisions and what she chose to do with her life and how she chose to eat or smoke or go out in the sun without sunscreen or whatever it is that caused the cancer. Okay. It had nothing to do with you. That's her experience. You're making it about yourself and it's not about you. Okay. Every result in your life is you've attracted it essentially. Okay. People hate hearing that. They hate hearing that because no one, like we say, oh, women don't want to be held accountable. Nobody wants to be held accountable. So when I say everything in your life that you've attracted it, good or bad, everything in your life, you've attracted it. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to fucking hear that because they don't want to hold themselves accountable. Okay. You know, everything we talked about on this channel, the states you run, the content you consume, the way you see your relationships, all of it goes deeper when you're working through it with other men who are in the same place you are right now. That's what the pack is. It's a private group on Telegram. Let me bring this up here. It's a private group on Telegram, $10 a month. And what happens in there is guys are actually doing the work. They're not just watching videos about it. Every month we do a live video hangout, and every month there's a members only pod class that goes places this channel doesn't go. If you've been watching today and something landed, that's your sign. The link's in the description, or you can go to wolf.comeonmanpod.com. Bear Club? Not anymore.
Wolfpack, you fix what's broken. You lead like a man again. Doomscrolling, no pity, no therapy. Just fire, just frame. Cold bed, broken home, midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit 24/7. Brothers locked in, steel, not heaven. Step inside the pack. We don't fall, we attack. Truth, fire, presence, we bring it back. Masculine pride, no time to slack. Step inside the pack. Drop your past, claim your track. No therapy talk, no playing small. We sharpen blades, we take it all.
For the love of God, too sweet me. CW knows what the assignment is. What's up, baby? All right. Next pod class, remember, is a week from Saturday. So it's a great time to join. You can join with a 7-day free trial. The law of mentalism and the stories you tell about people. Now, the Hermetics said everything begins in the mind. Okay. In fact, they say all is mind. Everything is mind. Okay. The story you've decided is true about your wife, your boss, or the world, all of that is generating the reality you then go out and confirm. Okay. So the brother in Wolfpack, he had a black pill story about his wife that he had been telling himself for months, for years, actually. And it was so convincing. He thought it was just an observation. He was just observing her behavior, but it was a mental construct he had been building out of this toxic content that he's been consuming. He was saying that they got married, and then literally a couple months later, he started tuning into more of the toxic red pill content. Okay. And so when he listened to last Friday's episode twice, he had the epiphany, like, I'm cutting that shit out. I'm going to stop doing it. And in this whole week, it's almost like he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy. He's cut all that stuff out, and he's looking at his wife like, this is the woman I married. This is the woman I loved. And he's like, it's totally changed the experience with her. Right? Change the story, and you literally start perceiving different things in the same person. It's not woo-woo. It's not positive thinking. bullshit. It's the mechanics of how your brain filters reality. Dr. Wayne Dyer said it really well. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. There's nothing magic about it. Okay. You're filtering it through a different lens. And now the thing is that the more you look at things from that positive lens, your brain works the same way. It starts looking for more evidence of that. So if you start looking at your wife more like, I love her, and this is the woman I chose to marry, this is the woman I chose to have children with, and you start thinking of all the things that you love about her, you'll start noticing all the stuff she does is very loving and caring. And you're going to appreciate her more. It's really weird how that works. Okay. Which is really weird to hear on a red pill channel, right? Because we're always trying to tell you, oh, you fucking bitches are cheaters and shit like that, right? You won't hear that on this channel. Like, I do talk about cheating women occasionally and stuff like that, but that's not this the norm thing that they talk about, like that they throw out in this space a lot. A lot of that, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Okay. By the way, guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description for that. So let's talk about apathy. Let's talk about apathy, because I see a lot of black pill, MGTOW type guys where they think that apathy is in a good place, right? They completely think like, I just don't care anymore, right? I'm done with women. I decided I don't care anymore. You'll find that almost all of those guys, that's the furthest thing from the truth. Because if it was really true, they would let me bring this up here just for a minute, right? If that was really true, they wouldn't be online bitching about women all the time and then trying to tell people, no, I'm just, I just don't care anymore. I really don't care anymore. If you truly didn't care, you wouldn't even be in my comment section telling me that you don't care. Okay, so they're essentially in a state of apathy, right? I just don't care anymore. Okay. Apathy is very low on the scale. It's down at 50, down here in the feel bad zone. Okay. The black pill community sells apathy as wisdom, but apathy at 50 and even neutrality, right? Or neutrality is at 250, which is, where the hell is neutrality? Neutrality, it's 250. It's up here, right? Neutrality, satisfactory, enabling. Okay. Apathy at 50, neutrality at 250. They look similar on the outside, but they're completely different on the inside. Okay. Neutrality means you're generally okay regardless of the outcome, right? You wouldn't be in the comment section telling me how happy you are. You would literally be out living your best life, being happy. But instead you're online with a MGTOW, avatar for your profile picture, like the sign of like, the road going this way. And then, the MGTOW sign where we're going our own way, right? You wouldn't have that as your profile picture if you were truly up here in neutrality or even acceptance. You're down here in apathy. You're actually condemning. You're feeling hopeless. You're feeling hopeless about dating and relationships. You're down here. Okay. And to get rid of the woo-woo, to remove your guys' mental blocks, to remove your mental blocks, okay, you are not up here and feel good. You're down here feeling bad, okay? So neutrality means you're genuinely okay regardless of what happens with women, but apathy means you've given up and you're calling it detachment to try to feel better about it, but you don't feel better about it. You're not up here. You're living down here and feel bad, okay? Now, detachment, when done right, it's a totally different animal. Okay. The Buddhist conception of non-attachment isn't indifference, because if you go back to the actual scale, it is kind of helpful to look at the scale just to see where each individual, let's remove this one, just to see where everything really sits, right? But indifferent, it's just below. Right. So it's not about being indifferent. Okay. When you're practicing being lovingly detached. I often talked about being lovingly being lovingly detached from your relationship, just so you can, look at the situation from a third party observer and be able to adjust accordingly. Okay. You're not down here just below the line. Okay. You're operating without needing a specific outcome to maintain your state. There's a real difference between I don't care and I'm okay either way. That's neutrality, right? So being lovingly detached is essentially right up here in neutrality, willingness, or acceptance. You're okay either way. Whatever happens, happens. Okay. When you're consuming content that keeps you in fear or anger, you're as attached as it gets. You're emotionally fused to a story about how bad everything is. You're living down here. Okay. Real detachment means being able to put the phone down. And what I mean, put the phone down, quit doom scrolling, right? Put the phone down, step away from the forums, and still feel okay. If you can't do that, you are absolutely not detached from the situation. You're not up here in, neutrality. You're down here. You're down here. Okay. You're hooked. You're hooked on the negativity. So the Hermetics talked about the law of neutrality. They called it. They literally called it the law of neutrality, which allows you to be more up here. And that allows you to rise above the swing, the emotional draw of whatever negative shit that you're watching, right? So like I said, the pendulum swing is a metaphor. Okay. I'm trying to take the woo-woo out of it for you guys. Okay. You have to rise above the swing so that you're not swinging with it. Okay. That's where you get into a neutrality state, right? So you don't accidentally arrive at neutrality or willingness, which is even higher. You get there by making deliberate choices about what you consume, what thoughts you entertain, and what you keep giving your energy to, right? So the law of polarity, which we talked about before, it says everything has its poles, everything has its opposites, but they're all differing in degree, but they're all the same essentially, right? Law of polarity means you always have access to the other end of any emotional state. Anger has a polar opposite. Fear has a polar opposite, but you have to consciously use the law instead of letting the pendulum drag you around. Okay. So if you notice, become aware that you're down here somewhere, you just need to focus on its opposite up here, right? Start listing out, like one of the things I said last week is if you're down here in, disdainful, condemning, vindictive, right? Vindictive. That's the brother in Wolfpack who's like obsessed with his ex-wife and he's always trying to stick it to her. He's down in this vindictive state. Okay. He needs to start thinking of up here, right? He needs to start thinking of something up here to get him out of that, to let go of whatever his bitch ex-wife is doing. Who cares what she's doing, right? I'm going to go live my life and make an awesome life for myself. That's the goal. Now you need to start thinking about shit up here. Okay. It's hard. It's fucking hard. I'm not saying this shit's easy. Okay. But I got justice. I want fucking justice. Okay. Practically, this means auditing your inputs. What are you watching before you go to bed? What forums are you in? What are you listening to while you drive? Those aren't neutral activities. They're all pushing you somewhere on the scale. Okay. If you're not paying attention, if you're not becoming aware of it, if anything makes you feel bad, you need to question why you're listening to that shit, right? So the epiphany moment is just the beginning. That's where the brother from Wolfpack had his epiphany after listening to last week's episode. Hopefully listening to this episode may give someone else an epiphany, and then you guys go back and listen to last week's episode, okay? But when the brother in the pack realized he had been running a toxic story about his wife, that realization was super valuable. But a realization without follow through is just temporary emotional relief. You have to identify which pendulums you've been feeding, cut the content that's keeping you down here feeling bad, and replace it with inputs that pull you up. Okay. All of that takes consistent effort over time. But once you make that a habit, that starts becoming more of your reality. Okay. So the guys who have a breakthrough and then go back into the same content diet, they're back in the same state within a week. Okay. that insight doesn't stick if the environment doesn't change. You have to get out of that environment. It's like when you go to 12 steps, you know, I've never been to 12 steps, but you see it in movies and stuff like that. You watch the movie Fight Club, right? He starts going to different 12-step programs every week just to interact with people. But one of the big things that they'll tell you to do is like, you have to get rid of it. You have to cut it out. Like if you're trying to cut out alcohol, you can't have alcohol in the house. If you're trying to lose weight, you can't have all the junk food in the house. You just can't buy it anymore, because if it's there, you're just going to come up with reasons, rationalizations why it's okay to have it, right? So if you truly want to quit, you have to remove yourself from that stuff. So if you've been watching really negative black pill type content and it's really impacting how you're seeing your wife, it's time to cut that shit out, okay? Until you can start getting more up here and looking at everything a little more objectively than you otherwise would, okay? But the best way to do that is just be observant of your feelings. How does it make you feel? Is it making you feel, is what you're watching making you feel good? Or is it making you feel bad? Right now, like what CW said is sometimes you start looking at the negative content like it's entertainment. And so you start thinking that you're feeling good, but anything that makes you want to, like, you know, stick it to these women and stuff like that, that's a negative feeling. That's your feeling. You're actually feeling vindictive and all that kind of stuff. You're actually down here on the scale. You really are. Okay. So if you want to hurt other people in some way, that's a feeling bad state, whether you feel good about feeling bad or not. Okay. That's all I have for this episode. I hope that gave you guys some food for thought without being too woo-woo-y. Let's take a look at the chat and then we'll wrap up here. Dar Fitness says, lone wolf starve and die, get in the wolf pack. So many epiphanies and aha moments happen in there. Too sweet, brother. Brother Kamal says, just lives being changed in the pack. Nothing special. No big deal. No big whoop. We're just changing lives and fixing marriages. No big deal. You know, 100% that. CW says, create positive narratives, create higher quality of life. 100%. And then Ty says, making a list of what you love about your wife is a game changer. It really is. It really is. That's where gratitude comes in. We have a gratitude practice group in Wolfpack for a reason. It's because when you focus on things that you're grateful for, it puts you in a better state. And then you start seeing other things that you're grateful for. It's really wild how that works, right? So think of something grateful that your wife did for you recently that she didn't have to do. Okay. Start thinking about that stuff. Start thinking about, okay, over the last 10 years, what are things that she did for you that she didn't have to do, and be grateful for those things. You'll start noticing she's continuing to do those things. You just haven't noticed because you've been in, shitty mindset about it all the whole time. Okay. She's not fucking me, bro. Start thinking about, how, like, what you love about her, and you'll start becoming more attractive to her. It's really weird. Okay. Tune into the podcast on Monday. We're going to be wrapping up my Keep Your Bitch series. It's so funny. See, this is how I'm renting myself out to the pendulum, right? I don't think your wife's a bitch. I don't think your girl's a bitch. Okay. It's a funny title that grabs your attention. But if you read this, there's nothing negative in here about your relationship or calling her a bitch or anything like that, right? But I'm renting myself out to the pendulum to grab the attention of guys that are in this space so they can keep their bitch. You know what I mean? Anyway, we're wrapping up the mini series on Monday. We're going over chapter 10, which is all about achieving and maintaining a high value relationship. You've heard of being a high value man, but is your relationship high value? We'll get into all that Monday. That's all we got, guys. Do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We'll see you next time. Have a good weekend.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.